Alright, so I just finished removing the rear suspension. These are all the tools I used to remove the rear suspension. A little bit with the jack too. It's mostly 17 millimeter. This 15 millimeter here is for the back side of this guy. He's got a 15 millimeter nut. But this is 17 here, 17, you can't see it, but 17 on here, and then 17 there, and it's got a blind nut on the back of that guy. Let's see. It's a little hard to see, but they have these like safety washers here that are a little hard to get to from if they're the OEM ones still that you have. What they do is they they'll torque it down to spec at the factory, and then they'll bend up the tab to kind of try and catch the hex on the nut and the bolt on both sides. So what I did for that to get that was either taking a pry bar like this and kind of trying to catch the lip of the safety washer, and then hammering it with the dead blow hammer. Also, I was able in some spots to just pry against the subframe here to try and catch that lip, and then I took these needle nose pliers here to kind of twist it away so that I could get a socket, so that the socket would fit on there. So I'm storing these back in here so I know where they go later, so they don't get mixed up or lost. And the same for this one here. Just kind of stayed on there. This is the Sector 111 brace. It's got some mounting brackets here, so it keeps these tie rods from kind of falling out. I had already taken the CV joints out on both sides. When you do that, I found it easier to take the passenger side off first. That's the side here. I undid this bolt, or these two bolts here, which allowed me to kind of pull it out a little bit, and because I couldn't get the driver's side off, and somebody said that they took the passenger side off first, and then the driver's side was a little easier. So I did have to undo the tie rod so that I could bend the upright out of the way a bit, and then using a bunch of yanking and pulling and bending that CV joint pretty much at this much of an angle where the stub is out here. That let me kind of pull this guy out. And then once I did that, then I was able to pull out this side. And what someone suggested here was getting it out, rotating the knuckle again as far as you can with the tie rod off, and then in swift motions pulling the thing out. And I did it like 3 or 4 times, and it seemed like it wasn't budging at all. On the 5th time, which was the same level of effort, it just kind of popped right out. And it was a little C-clip or retainer ring that's on the inside, and that's what they recommend. I just kind of wrap my hands around the CV joint there, or the axle, and then kind of a swift motion to pull it out. Some people use a dead blow hammer. I could not use a pry ring or pry bar against the lip of it. Alright, just so you can see what's going on, this is the driver's side one here. Let me flip it around. This is how it was looking here. And this is where you could try to fit a pry bar between the transmission case and the CV joint, but you see this little dust lip here is just sheet metal. It's not going to hold up to the prime to get past this guy here. So, yep, pretty much it. I did not drain the transmission, so when I pulled out the passenger side, it started leaking the gear oil here. So luckily I had some old chai containers you know, it's just whatever scrap container you have around. This is just cardboard. It's like got foil on the inside, but it's keeping the oil in. I'm going to throw it away anyway, or dispose of it. Yep. So this much leaked out of this side. Let it drain for a while. When I pulled out the driver's side, I also got some. This is relatively new. I probably only had about, if there's any dust, there's probably chai powder in there. But I probably only had, I want to say like 5,000 miles on this gear oil. So, I don't know. I forget what color it was when it came out. Alright, a couple more things that you want to do before you take everything off and that it falls down. Use some pliers or something to undo this Christmas tree kind of plug. This is for the wheel speed sensor. This signal will get used for your ABS, and someone tells me that it takes 4 inputs of these from all 4 corners and then uses that to calculate speed, but who knows. Anyway, there's that. This guy, pretty ingenious way. This is the parking brake cable. Assuming you've already like detached this from the caliper. But basically it's just kind of, it's got like a piece of wire that kind of like does this number, kind of wraps around it, and you just kind of undo it from there and feed it through, push it through. You know, this is a steel cable inside. It's not going to hurt anything to bend it a little bit. Don't make a sharp crease in it, but you can just push it out. And then this guy, he's got a little small 5mm guy here, where this part here, it's got a little tiny crappy nut, and that screws it onto the lower A-arm, and you'll need to undo that 5mm. So again, this is everything I used here. You got a couple 17s. Oh, these super hard to get to in here, especially when you have the bar in the way. At full droop height, I was able to get this one off, and then with this off, I used a combination of this 1/4-inch super long extension, fed it through here, and then did this number where I have a 1/4-inch to the 3/8 adapter. Once this was already fed through down here, then I stuck this on the end of the bolt, push this in, and then I could drive it from here through the basically driving from out here through these guys here. So that's how I got that out. And what I did was I stuck a 17mm wrench here, you know, to kind of hold the nut from spinning. Even with the safety washer on, the nut still spins, so that tells you how much good it's really doing. But there was enough room to get around with the open end wrench. You can get around the. I probably shouldn't use the gear wrench or this kind, because this gets in the way. But you can go around the safety nut or the safety washer, and that's enough to hold it while you undo it from out here. And then, yeah, put a little tension, sideways tension, so that this will feed itself out, and then you can yank this out here. So, if you're using this instruction to take your arms out so that you can put monoballs in, a lot of the monoballs, guys, they have this guy here. This area in here needs to be expanded for the monoballs to fit. And you're just kind of like squishing it apart a bit. I think that's the one. I think it's the front that they say. Oops. The front one, they say you have to kind of expand this in some direction. So whatever direction it's needs to be expanded in, just do it. Just push it in. It's not going to affect the alignment that much. You're going to want to get it aligned anyway. Do it yourself. So yep, that's pretty much it. This guy was super easy to pull out, and that's all we have.